I'm Ryan, and welcome to Squareburban, the new YouTube channel. This is going to be the first video of some videos about my Suburban, which I call the Squareburban because it is a square body Suburban. And I thought I would just start the channel by giving you a quick history of the truck and what the plans are with it and what I use it for and that kind of thing. So first off, this is a 1988 Chevy Suburban. It's I think it's the V1500, which is the 4x4 half ton, and it's got some issues, and just like they all do. At this point, let's see, it's 2021, and it was built in '88, so I guess that makes it a 33-year-old vehicle, so it's going to have some issues. It's pretty clean overall. There's very little rust, which is extraordinary. Living in the Pacific Northwest, things tend to get rusty because it rains a lot here. So I'm up near Olympia, Washington, in case anybody's wondering. So, quick story about how I got this truck. In 2014, I had a little Mitsubishi Montero two-door, which was sold in the U.S. as Dodge Raider, and the input bearing on the transmission was going. I had a family of 4 at the time, and I needed something bigger that ran better. I sold that truck and took that money and a little bit of extra money and bought this. This is before square bodies were a thing. They were just old trucks at the time, and so I was fortunate. I got this thing for not a lot of money, and the guy I bought it from, it was in Portland, and it had been his in-laws car. So his wife actually had grown up in this truck, and had been in the family for all that time. And he sold it to me. It was kind of hard for him to sell it, which I understood that. I've sold some vehicles and it was difficult. So anyway, he sold it to me, and I promised to take care of it, and I've done the best I can. So when I got it, it's probably he said it had a GM Goodwrench engine in it, which they had about 70,000 miles, and I've only put about 10,000 miles on the truck since then. It doesn't get driven a lot. It also has a 700 R4 transmission. It's a GM Goodwrench 350 and a 700 R4 transmission, 373 gears, and it's 10-bolt front end and rear end. And so, it's, a half ton, which you're gonna find out I like that, and I'll explain why. Mostly because it's light, and so lighter is better. But we're gonna focus on keeping this truck light. We won't be adding a lot of stuff to it. We're just adding things that are necessary to make it better for my purpose, which isn't hardcore off-roading, by the way. So I'll get into that. Anyway, so let me show you around the truck and just give you a quick overview of what this thing is, and we'll get started. All right, so we'll start at the passenger's quarter here, and you can see immediately there is some damage at the front bumper right here. About 6 months or so after I bought this truck, I was driving on a country road at night going home, a place where I used to live, and a couple of deer ran out in front of me, and I was hesitant to slam on the brakes because at the time my wife, who has since passed on, unfortunately, she was dealing with some really bad back issues, and so I was hesitant to slam on the brakes real hard, and I should have. She actually was mad that I didn't. Bent this bumper right here, damaged the grill, and had to replace some headlights and things. Thankfully, there was no other real body damage, so I've got to replace that bumperette, or take it off and put something different on, or just take them off. I actually have always liked the square body bumperettes, so I'm just going to try to find another one to replace that one, and we'll see what happens there. They're also missing the black trim piece that goes on there, so I'd like to restore those on there. Now, I may put a winch on the front at some point, and if I do, I'll just be cutting out the stock bumper. I don't need a real heavy big bumper, and the weight of a winch with a synthetic rope would be enough weight. I don't need to add a lot more to it. So just to take you around the truck, I've got the stock Chevy Rally wheels, which could use some cleanup. And I've got some 31, 10, 50, 15 Maxxis mud tires that I got for $200 for the set of them used. And considering how much I don't drive this truck, they'll last me quite a while. They've got a good amount of tread on them. The paint is not perfect. It has faded a lot even since I've owned it, probably because it sits out in the rain a lot, and which is why I've got an issue such as this. And so it's got the tinted rear windows, which is really nice. Back up a little bit here, and it's clean. It's got the barn doors in the back, and you'll see the door handle is missing the button. So the button's actually sitting in the front. The previous owner considered that a nice security feature. I consider it a pain in the neck, so I will be replacing that. Part of the issue is that the power locks don't work, so I'll need to look into that. But other than that, it's very straight. It does have a lot of moss on it, or I guess algae actually grows on these trucks, on anything that sits out a long time here. So that needs to be all washed off. It's got a towing kit on it, and so I'll show you that. And it's just got stock single exhaust, or stock-like single exhaust on it at least. It's probably not the original. I suppose it could be, but it does not look, it looks too good to be original. It is unlifted, and it's in generally just good stock shape. It does have a broken window right here, but that's extremely low priority. Other than that, the things I've done to this since I've owned it, I've had to put just maintenance parts on it, like new water pump, new battery. I've also had to redo the front end, all new front brakes, repack the wheel bearings, and I did that last summer, actually, the summer of 2020. It still has the dual shocks in the front. Oh yeah, I also had to put in new brake lines because those were pretty bad. In fact, the right front wheel had locked up on me. Actually, no, the left front wheel. This wheel had locked up on me while I was driving. The brake would not release, so I was able to baby it home after getting it to release just enough. But that had to be new rotors, rotors, pads, new calipers, and complete repack on the front end, and new brake lines. Almost did a new master cylinder, but decided that the master cylinder works fine. Other than that, I think the only other thing that I've done to it, I rebuilt the throttle body a couple summers ago, and I think it's summer 2019, and so it runs a lot better. Still has some running issues. It runs pretty rough sometimes, and I feel like it should be getting better mileage than it does. It's getting about 12 right now, so I'd like to bump that up to around the 14, 15 mark if I can when I'm on the highway. It does have that 700 R4, so I should be able to bring the RPMs down quite a bit. I don't know what the RPMs are because I don't have a tach in it, so that might be something that I also remedy. Alright, so under the hood we have a stock style Chevy 350 with a TBI, and like I said, I rebuilt the throttle body on that about a year and a half ago, and it runs pretty good. I did get a tip from a fellow that this tube going from the PCV valve into the intake, or into the throttle body, gets clogged, which can cause issues, so I'm going to work on that. In fact, I've got some stuff under the hoods just kind of stored here for the moment because it needs to have another problem fixed, which is this coolant fitting right here is leaking pretty badly. So that's going to be replaced with just instead of a quick release fitting, I'm just putting a standard half-inch NPT to, I'll have it somewhere in here, one of these. So that'll hopefully solve that issue. Otherwise, I kind of need to drive it actually. Interior-wise, it's in pretty good shape. Let me show you the interior. Alright, so when I say that the interior is in good shape, what I mean is it's not absolutely trashed. It's not perfect. It has issues. This door card has seen better days. This is hot glued in because it just was flopping around. I did lose the motor on this side, and I think the motor on that side is going out. I just replaced that a couple weeks ago. Now, not long after I got it, my son was driving it, my daughter was driving it, I was driving it. Sometimes my wife would drive it, and the steering column would get adjusted up and down a lot. And of course, some of that old wiring in there was unhappy, and my daughter called me and reported that smoke was coming out from under the dash, and the windshield wipers quit working. And in Washington, windshield wipers are not a luxury; they're a necessity. So I had to basically take it apart and just zip tie things out of the way and get the windshield wipers working, which they do now. Of course, it's off, but somewhere in there's bad wiring that probably cracked from being moved around so much after so long of being in one position. So it's also got the typical Chevy Wobble, so that's got to be fixed. I have all the parts to do it. This piece in here that this stock connects to, that switch, the multifunction switch in there for the windshield wipers and turn signals and cruise control, which is totally routed outside of it. You can tell somebody's probably replaced this stock without actually taking it out. But anyway, it's like $120. So I'm trying to see if I'm going to take it apart and see if I can actually repair the wiring. I think I might be able to. But we'll see. I'm pretty handy with electronics, so we'll see how that goes. This seat back actually broke, and I have some pictures on one of my websites about it, and maybe I'll import those into Squareburban.com, which is not launched yet, but will be. Other than that, the interior there's no headliner. That came out a long time ago, and just got my camping stuff back there I need to take it out from a camping trip a couple weeks ago. In the back, you'll see that there's a white strip going along the top right here, right there, and that's an LED strip. And so when I want to party, I can just do this. But I'm going to be doing the same with this light here. I just basically used the stock wiring and wired it in an LED strip instead of the stock headlamp there, not headlamp, whatever it's called. But other than that, the seats are stock, which they're still in pretty decent shape. Got the center console. The rear seats are also in there, and they're stock. I'll go down right now. I have the third seat in the back. I have the third seat for the back. However, I don't use it, and it's in a storage place that is not. It's moldy. It's probably ruined. It needs reupholstering completely, and unfortunately, it's probably going to get thrown away. So, what is Squareburban? I've shown you the truck, but it's not just a truck. It's a ideology, I guess. I'm not really sure. It's a method. So, all over the internet, you're going to see high budget builds, or even low budget builds that are just extreme. They're made for rock crawling. There's one guy that's got a Suburban with the back end cut off or shortened, stubby, which is cool. And they're running 14 bolt rear ends, 60 Dana 60 front ends, and 205 cases, and with 203 doublers, and who knows what else they've got, and big engines and diesel swaps and everything else. And that stuff is great. On the other hand, you have the overlanders who are doing the bolt on everything, make it look rugged like one of the old Paris Dakar rally cars, stickers all over the place, and neither of those things are me. I'm a get in the car and drive it kind of guy. But I like to go places, I like to have fun, and I don't like to be limited because my vehicle won't go where I want it to go. That being said, I'm not trying to do overlanding or hardcore rock crawling. I don't have trails I want to run. I want to go camping. You saw the camping gear in there. I like to camp, and I like to camp. They call it off-grid or dispersed camping. I like to be away from people, and I like to be able to just kind of relax and get away from the normal everyday life. And that's what this is for. So, am I going to be doing a drivetrain swap on it? No. Am I going to be doing a transfer case swap? No. Am I going to be doing axle swaps? No. Am I going to be putting gears and lockers in it? Probably not. Maybe a locker in the back. I think one of my goals, if I find the need, is going to be a locker in the back and a winch on the front. I would like to build a roof rack for it, perhaps, just so I can have some ability to haul bigger things, actually, that won't fit inside of it. Mostly for hauling, not for, like, much else. I mean, I could throw a tire up there to regain some interior room, that kind of thing, but not any. I'm not going to go with a rooftop tent or anything like that. But if I do any modifications, they're going to be things just to make the truck more useful to me. And one of the reasons I'm keeping it stock, one is cost, and two is I just don't need to make it anything other than stock. But there's also, if let's say you add bigger axles, let's say even just swap out the knuckles for 8 lug knuckles, which they can totally do with those 10 bolt, and then throw in a full floater 14 inch, or even a semi floater 14, not 14 inch, but 14 bolt. I think the full floater's got a 10.5 inch ring. The semi floater has a 9.5 inch ring. Nice and bulky, or nice and sturdy, but also really bulky, really heavy. They actually decrease your ground clearance when you install those, and they add a lot of weight. And those are both. So to me, they're stronger, but I'm never going to be going bigger than 32 inch or 31 inch tires. Like I say, never. It's unlikely I'll be going bigger than 31 inch tires, because if I do that, then I've got to re-engineer the rest of the vehicle to match the tire size. So what I do intend to do is lift it a couple inches, give it a little bit more ground clearance, and I know that won't increase the ground clearance at the differentials. Well aware of that, but it will increase ground clearance everywhere else. So that's a plus. I do want a little bit better ride, so I might be going with some custom springs for the front. Not entirely sure. Don't have that budget for it yet. So it's just going to be things I'm working toward. So, but the goal is to keep it stock, keep it relatively light for Suburban, and not go crazy with it, but just make it more useful for my purposes. In Washington, Oregon, Nevada, Idaho are going to be my stomping grounds. I think that's about it, really. I'm not going to take it much further than that. That's a huge area, and I don't need to take it further than that. Anyway, so that's what the goals are with this. I'll be doing videos, and I'll be posting them to my website, so you can check things out there too. And who knows, we'll just see where the channel takes me and where this fun takes me, and I will be documenting the work that I do on it. I'm not going to go into deep tutorials. There's lots of those online. That's not what this isn't a tutorial channel. It's a channel to kind of support the idea that you don't need to do hardcore off-road and overlanding, which is driving trucks off-road and then camping, I guess. And then not an overlander. I don't even have the cool hat. There's a whole lot of things that I just those ideas aren't me. Me is just use it for what it is and enjoy it and modify as needed. If I break the 10 bolt at some point, then maybe I'll upgrade it. But it's going to stay lighter. It's not going to be a 14 bolt. I've had a truck with a 14 bolt. That's fine. They're great, but I'm looking for lighter. I think I'd probably be more inclined and better ground clearance. I think I'd probably be more inclined. I haven't looked into a Toyota axle with an e-locker. Their full-size trucks actually aren't that. The rear ends have an e-locker in them, and I think they have 373s or 410s. And those will actually fit this on paper anyway, without too much trouble. So there's a lot of options out there that I might look at that aren't standard. Use my creativity, some of my electronic skills-ish. So keep an eye on the channel if this is interesting to you, and thank you for watching. I know this is a little bit of a long video. Future videos I'm looking to keep 5-10 minutes. Anyway, so thanks for watching, and again, my name is Ryan. This is the channel Squareburban. Catch you next time.